Welcome to Mugshots and Murders, where the darkest secrets of humanity are laid bare. This is episode 2, Family Matters, a chilling tale of betrayal, violence, and the shattered bonds of blood. Our story begins on a quiet block in Maryland Heights, Missouri. The initial 911 report painted a scene of unimaginable horror. 4 stabbing victims, 2 confirmed dead on arrival, a father and his infant son, the grandmother, critically wounded, and a 4-year-old daughter, thankfully expected to survive. The mother, who had been out studying between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m., returned home to a nightmare. Her 4-year-old daughter was walking around dazed, asking for help amidst the carnage. As the mother frantically called 911, her daughter uttered a name that would make this tragedy even more troubling. Trey did this. Trey is Traveon Sims, Mom's 20-year-old nephew. He had been staying with the family up until recently when they asked him to leave because his lifestyle wasn't a match with small kids in the home. Apparently, Traveon felt this was an extreme act of disloyalty. He felt disrespected. The evening of the murders, he had gone to the house and met his aunt, grandmother, and cousins in the backyard. His girlfriend waited for him in the car. He wasn't allowed in the home. His aunt left to go to the library as she was in school. Later, he asked his grandmother if he could go inside to use the bathroom. She said yes. And she then takes this as an opportunity to give her grandson some advice about how he is living his life. That's what grandmothers do. He was on parole and she thought he could be doing better. Sims has a prior run-in with the police from, 2015. He pleaded guilty to second-degree robbery and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. However, he was released after about 2 years. This enraged Traveon as he begins to attack his grandmother. He didn't want her advice. He was already angry. Court documents state that Sims repeatedly stabbed his grandmother to what he told police he assumed was her death, and then turned his wrath on the children. At some point during this violent confrontation, Sims' girlfriend, Onyai Turner, enters the home. After his mother-in-law and children have been stabbed, Malcom Mathis II comes home. Traveon Sims and Onyai Turner had waited for him. Traveon struck his uncle with a hammer. He stabbed him repeatedly. It was a pretty ferocious attack. It seems like Sims wanted his aunt to come home and find her family slaughtered because he also stole a family car and seemed to be very strategic about leaving before she would arrive home. Remember, he lived with them. He knew her schedule. And she did come home. And she did arrive to a bloody nightmare. She found her daughter first and called the police. Malcom Mathis II and the baby died as a result of their injuries. The grandmother and the 4-year-old eventually recovered. Sims was familiar to Maryland Heights police. They had been dealing with him for the previous 4 years. Police said Sims had a troubled past and his extended family tried to help him out. He lived with them for a period of time, but they kicked him out 6 to 8 months prior. Documents noted that Turner and Sims shared a meal at McDonald's after the murders and even stole the child victim's piggy bank. Turner and Sims were apprehended at a motel shortly thereafter. Mr. Sims confessed completely to the crime. He was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, armed criminal action, and first-degree assault. Onyai Turner, she pleaded guilty to her 6 felonies in the case, including 2 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of first-degree robbery, and 3 counts of armed criminal action. Traveon Sims pled guilty Thursday, July 1st, 2021. He received 5 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. Onyai Turner was sentenced to 3 life terms in prison. According to a news release from the St. Louis County Police Department, Turner spoke at the sentencing, saying to the family she took full accountability for her actions, and I just wish you all could forgive me. This is a tragic story that didn't have to end this way. Traveon Sims' extended family offered him help at a time when he needed it, but they were also raising young children and taking care of his grandmother. They wanted stability, and Traveon's life wasn't fitting into theirs. They had the right to ask him to leave. Malcom II, or as his family called him, B2, was an IT technician at Monsanto. In his spare time, he worked with the St. Louis Metro chapter of the Black Data Processing Associates that help students learn computer skills. He worked through the organization to make sure that each person that joined also got a computer. And his father believes that it was that sense of selflessness that drove him to help his wife's troubled nephew, Traveon Sims, which makes this case even more disturbing. What kind of person attempts to stab their family to death? The uncle who welcomed you into his home, your 4-year-old and 22-month-old cousins, and your grandmother, all violently attacked. We spend a lot of time worrying about what a suspect looks like as a defense mechanism. But just know there is a kind of person who would stab his own grandmother, and they may look exactly like you. How do you recover from knowing you're not safe with your own family? The wounds heal if you survive, but when it's said and done, in this case, your sibling's child tried to kill your mother, your daughter, and murdered your husband and son. This is the thanks for helping your nephew out in a bad spot. No good deed goes unpunished when you have relatives like Traveon Sims. Peace to the victims and survivors of this truly senseless tragedy. Because how can you possibly feel safe if you can't even trust your nephew to not harm your loved ones? Thank you for watching this episode of Mugshots and Murders. Stay safe. You don't know who the enemy is.